Prepare to have your ears tortured. It's From the Front Row with Johnathan T. Rokford. What's up, WPA? It's me, Johnathan T. Rokford here. Back in the saddle. Bringing you another edition of From the Front Row. And folks, this is my throne. No one shall ever take it from me. And let's get into it. Night started off with the Emperor 2K Anomaly coming to the ring, announcing that he would take on anybody for his Game Changer title, which was a fatal mistake, folks, as newcomer, the Master, Sean Puff, stepped up to the plate and in very convincing fashion cut him short and took his title from him, folks. It wasn't even a challenge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll say that was rigged. But he's a victim of his own conspiracy. And folks, you know, you can say whatever you want to about matches rigged, this, that, and other, but when you have an open challenge, especially for the Game Changer title, it's not going to always end up pretty. Calling your shot before you get rid of the other opponent doesn't work. Bad business. Now, after that was over, we got to our first match, which was Quanny Fist versus Johnathan. And folks, I honestly don't, you know, when selecting names, I just don't know what in the Quanny physics would make you want to call yourself Quanny Fist. But hey, it is what it is, folks. And Johnathan was able to dispatch of Quanny Fist pretty easily. I told you, who's going to lose to somebody named Quanny? It just doesn't sound right. Now, we did have 3 matches where the competitors were waiting in the ring for their opponents, and their opponents must have been scared and didn't show up. So Martel, the Messiah, and Big Mel were pretty much given the night off. And since he had the night off, the Messiah went looking for the Master. Felt like he was talking too much trash. We'll get that later. Our second match saw the Thai villain taking on Red Death. And folks, I don't know what's up with the Thai villain, as it seems like he'll lose in the week, but come pay-per-view, almost perfection. To me, not good strategy. You're giving your opponents that confidence that they can beat you. If you happen to face them later, it's going to be bad news for you. Now, granted, he was able to successfully defend his title a couple times. Once against the Queen, who beat him, and he was able to dispatch her. But eventually, that's going to run out on him. Now, our third match was Shona Campbell versus the Emperor 2K Anomaly, who was fresh off from losing his Game Changer title. And folks, his losing night continued as Shona Campbell was able to defeat the Emperor 2K Anomaly and hand him an official loss for the night. Man, 0-2. Now, our next match was probably match of the night as we had Chrysalis taking on Lady Assassin, and they fought all over the ring arena to the point where time ran out. I would have liked to see who was going to win that match. Bookers, we need a part 2. Come on, make it happen. Chrysalis versus Lady Assassin part 2. Let's see who can actually win that match. Now, our next match featured the Hunted Master, Sean Puff, taking on the Essential Jayla Masters. And prior to the match, Master said he was going to beat Essential Jayla Masters, which is a good plan, with one exception, folks. He obviously doesn't watch this show. I warned people. The Essential Jayla Masters is nothing to be played with one-on-one. And Jayla Masters showed the Master just why he's one of the toughest SOBs in WPA, as he was able to defeat the Master Sean Puff in his second match here in WPA. You know, I know you beat the Emperor in your first match. I looked back and I saw that, and I was not that impressive, actually. But once you start hitting up that ladder and get to the actual tough opponents here, you're going to find out they're nothing to play with. Now, our next match saw the Big J Bowski taking on Robert Isaiah Salea, who's been having a tough go of things lately. And his tough times continued as he picked up another loss, folks. We have the Robert Isaiah Salea rewind back to loser status. I don't know what's up with that guy, you know. One trios title, went on a real hot streak, held the IC title for a little bit, and then lost it. And now he's kind of going up and down. I would say he'll probably turn it around, but I'm not holding high hopes for that. Now, our next match saw the Delirious taking on the Beast, David Smith. Another individual who seems to be kind of going up and down the win-loss column. And he picked up another loss as the Delirious, who's been hot, coming off of 4 successful title defenses of his trios title, and is now in line for IC title. He's staying hot, folks. And if I was the Thai villain, I'd be watching Delirious, because you're going to face him sooner or later. And when you do, I almost predict him beating the Thai villain, folks, and picking up an IC title. I'm going to call it. That's my opinion. But very rarely are we wrong here on the show. We watch this stuff. Now, we had Money MF and Mike taking on Needles Kane, who was the #1 contender for the world title, held by Jermaine Walker. And folks, I don't know how you expect to beat Jermaine Walker, and you're coming up with loss after loss. Now, granted, Money MF and Mike, another tough competitor, but you gotta. I think he's looking too far ahead. I don't know if he's holding back or what, but Needles Kane needs to come up with a plan to face Jermaine Walker, because he does this, he is definitely not going to beat Jermaine Walker, folks. Very rarely will Jermaine Walker make a mistake in a title match. There's very few people that have ever beaten him for a title. Like, I can count it on my fingers, folks. 2. That's it. And no, well, technically 3, but 2 of them were the same person. Now, our next match was Queen Starlin Jade taking on the Crazy Canuck. And the Queen's hot as ever. Picking up another win. Picking up her crown and then addressing her royal subjects. And having them acknowledge her. You know, Phillip is very high on her. She was ranked number 1 on his list. And she's proven why he keeps ranking her number 1. I'm starting to believe it. Now, our next match had Johnny Rocco, one half of the tag team champs, taking on the First Lady, Alexa Leslie. And in uncharacteristic fashion, Johnny Rocco lost to the newcomer. He seemed to be making a couple mistakes here and there, which is very kind of uncharacteristic. But, hey, it's life, folks. Mistakes are made. You learn from them. You move on. But congratulations to the First Lady, Alexa Leslie. Hey, you know, that'd be a good match, too. The First Lady, Alexa Leslie, versus the actual First Lady of WPA, Lady Assassin. Huh. If I was Lady Assassin, I'd be kind of insulted. Somebody coming in calling himself the First Lady. Now, our last match of singles competition saw Michael Oliver and Nathaniel Everett Young, better known as Money, taking on the WPA champ, Jermaine Walker. And folks, after the night, I can tell you right now, he hasn't cut a promo in a while, but I feel a promo coming. As Money was able to defeat Jermaine Walker and pick up the win over the champ. And if you don't think he's going to be looking for a title match or to be put into a number 1 contender match to beat Jermaine Walker for that title, you don't know Money. I'd be really surprised if he didn't, actually. Now, folks, we had a number 1 contender match for the triple threat title featuring Casper 2779, Switchblade, and Shepard Bane. And Shepard Bane was able to pick up the win by pinning Casper 2779. He's moving on, folks. This is tough. We'll have to see who's going to be next. Who's going to be also added to that as we go on forward. We had another number 1 contender match for the world title featuring Brasso and Lucha Libre, who finally is getting a shot to try to go for the world title, folks. But standing in his way was Brasso of the Killer Goons, and he made sure he put up the biggest roadblock you could ever imagine, folks, as Brasso was able to defeat Lucha Libre and become number 1 contender to face Jermaine Walker in a world title match. Now, championship action, we had the triple threat title on the line as our champion, the Wraith, took on Captain Chaos and Supreme Knight. And folks, Captain Chaos, might as well call him a belt collector, as he was able to pick up the win by pinning the champ. So this is one instance where the champ can't even say, oh, I didn't get pinned. You got pinned. As Captain Chaos is our new triple threat champion. Gold around his waist again, folks. We knew it would happen sooner or later. You just didn't know when and what title it would be. And he's been a former champion. He's been a former world title champion, former tag team champ, former trios champ. I mean, he keeps collecting. He can hit the Grand Slam. I think all that's left is the TV title and maybe a game changer, which I don't think he really needs that one to be considered a Grand Slam IC title. Now, in our main event, we had the Dark Stalker versus Bobby Blaze for the TV title. And folks, It was bound to happen, as Bobby Blaze was able to defeat the Darkstalker and become the new TV champ. OVE, folks, they ended the night with no losses. Granted, Martel's opponent didn't even show up, but still, no losses at all for anybody in OVE. One loss in the Killer Goons. Sinister, 0-4 for the night. Very rarely does that happen, folks. Now, you remember I said that the Messiah went looking for the Master, and he found him, folks, and he dragged him out to the arena in front of the crowd, and they started going at it, folks, for the Game Changer title. The match went on so long that the crowd started heckling the Master, chanting, "You can't beat him," to Sean Puff, which kind of angered him, but it was nothing he could do. Folks, they're still going at it. You know, a guy that claimed that this title was nothing, he found out real quick just how tough defending the Game Changer title is when you actually come up against a true opponent. And the Messiah, yes, he is a good opponent, very tough. He gave Jermaine Walker a run for his money, and now he's giving the Master, a good run. We'll have to see what happens, folks, because this match is still going on. It's going to keep going on and going on and going on, folks, until somebody cracks. But that's all I have, folks. Stay tuned. Phillip is coming up, and he's going to be talking about his pick for the week. But I'm Johnathan T. Rokford, folks. And as always, make sure you hug your loved ones. Don't drink and drive. Be safe, folks. And pick up the phone and call that friend that might need to hear your voice. Stay fabulous, folks. It's all yours, Phillip. Good evening, WPA. It is I, once again, your savior, the man who restored order to WPA, Phillip Alexander Carrington IV. And tonight I'm here once again to grace an individual with my praise and adoration as they impress me in the utmost impressive of ways. And tonight's recipient comes from the Killer Goons. And while I don't like the name of the team, of the faction, or whatever you may call the Wankers, there's an undeniable doubt. The man I placed number 3 on my top 10 for the month of November is striving to make his way to number 1. And that would be the essential J. The Masters. I mean, the last name alone. The Masters. quite a name, and he essentially dispatched of a loud mouth who I picked last week as my top competitor and thoroughly disappointed me this week. Jalen Masters showed the master, Sean Puff, just who the real master of WPA was, as he dispatched him in extraordinary fashion. Sean Puff had no answer for what Jay brought to the table. It was like Sean Puff was drinking white tea while Jalen Masters sipped from a fine Earl Grey. Yes. Very impressive performance, quite indeed, Mr. Lemasters. Keep it up, and you may find yourself top of my list. I would have never thought someone that's prone to death matches would possess the technical skill and ring awareness that Jay exhibited last night. He had the crowd eating out of his hands. He turned the master into, dare I say, a bitch. If you're going to talk trash, you should at least be able to back it up. It makes me wonder, though, why Mr. Lemasters doesn't have gold around his waist. A man as skillful as Jay should have been a multi-champ by now. It almost makes me think there's some kind of conspiracy to keep him from getting the title. I mean, alone he's beaten Jermaine Walker twice. Which makes me believe that he could do it again under the current circumstances. But that remains to be seen. We're coming up on a pay-per-view. I plan to be in attendance. And I plan to select just one individual. Be the star of the night. Will it be you? We shall see. But until then, I will tell you that you're welcome. With Johnathan's return. Sometimes it takes a true expert to take care of matters of this sort. It was obvious that WPA administration had not a clue on how to handle this. Not that I would expect a bunch of nincompoop to know how to handle this sort of incident. But that is all I have for you tonight, folks. I bid you a good day. I said dead.